She challenged me to a duel, but froze when she saw my tattoo. I was shocked, too. The neutral space station Helios Drift was built to feel calm. Soft white lights curved along the ceiling. Wide halls reduced the feeling of confinement. Even the air was adjusted so that most species could breathe without stress. It was a place meant to prevent conflict. Conflict arrived anyway. Elias Ward stood near the center of the arbitration hall, hands relaxed at his sides, posture calm. He wore a simple dark jacket with no rank markings. To most of the beings watching, he looked ordinary. Too thin, too soft. A human, one of the newer species in the galactic community. Across from him stood Commander Vithra of the Krill Dominion. She was tall, armored in ceremonial combat plates that reflected the light in sharp angles. Her 4 eyes were fixed on Elias, unblinking. Her people were known for strength, honor, and direct action. They respected power above all else, and they did not respect humans. "You insulted my house," Vithra said, her voice amplified so every translator could keep up. "You questioned our claim in front of witnesses." Elias did not raise his voice. "I presented evidence. That is not an insult." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several delegates leaned back in their seats. Others leaned forward, curious. Everyone knew where this was going. "To deny a Krill claim is to deny our honor," Vithra continued. "Under our law, this demands challenge." Elias sighed quietly. He had hoped it would not come to this. "I am a diplomat," he said, "not a warrior." Vithra's mandibles pulled back in something close to a smile. "All beings are warriors when honor is questioned." She turned slightly, raising her voice. "I challenge the human to a formal duel." The hall went silent. Human representatives stiffened. Alien delegates exchanged looks. Duels were legal on neutral stations under strict rules, but everyone knew the truth. A human against a Krill warrior was not a contest. Elias felt dozens of eyes on him. He could decline. Humans were allowed to refuse under interspecies law, but refusing would confirm what many already believed, that humans talked, negotiated, and hid behind rules because they could not stand on their own. "I accept," Elias said. The words surprised even him. A low sound passed through the hall. Shock, curiosity, disbelief. Vithra straightened, clearly pleased. "Then let it be recorded, a clean duel, no interference, no armor beyond what the rules allow." The station overseers moved quickly. The central floor was cleared. Energy barriers formed a wide circle. Medical drones hovered just outside, ready but uncertain if they would matter. Elias stepped into the ring. He could feel his heart beating, steady and controlled, not fear, not excitement. Something old and quiet, like a door unlocking somewhere in his mind. Vithra followed, her steps heavy, confident. "Remove outer garments," the overseer announced. "Weapons will be provided." Vithra removed sections of her armor with practiced ease, revealing dense muscle and old battle scars. She looked like someone born for combat. Elias reached for his jacket. As he pulled it off, the fabric slid down his arm, exposing skin that rarely saw open light. The tattoo appeared. It was not decorative, not artistic, just black lines and faded numbers interrupted by scars that cut through the ink. The design was sharp and deliberate, placed high on his back near the shoulder. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Vithra stopped moving. Her hand froze halfway to her weapon. Her eyes widened. The crowd reacted next. A ripple of sound passed through the chamber, not loud voices, quiet ones, whispers, sudden movement. A few older delegates leaned back sharply, as if distance alone could protect them. Elias noticed the change immediately. "What?" he asked, glancing behind him slightly confused. Vithra stared at the tattoo as if it were a living thing. "That mark," she said slowly. Her voice had lost its confidence. "That is not possible," Elias frowned. "It's just a tattoo." Vithra took an unsteady step back. The overseer hesitated. "Commander, do you wish to proceed?" Vithra did not answer. Instead, she lowered her weapon. That alone shocked the audience more than the challenge itself. "I withdraw," she said. The words echoed through the hall. Gasps followed. Some delegates stood up. Others began speaking all at once. Withdrawal in a formal duel was worse than defeat for the Krill. It meant public loss of honor. Elias turned fully now. "Wait, what?" Vithra did not look at him. Her gaze remained locked on the tattoo. "This duel cannot continue." The overseer raised multiple limbs, calling for silence. "Commander, state your reason," Vithra swallowed. "Because he is marked." The translator hesitated for a fraction of a second before continuing. A murmur of confusion spread. "Marked how?" someone asked. An elderly delegate from a long-lived species slowly stood. Its voice trembled despite centuries of control. That symbol, I have only seen it in sealed archives. Elias felt a chill crawl up his spine. He had never thought much about the tattoo. He received it long ago during service he was never allowed to talk about. They told him it was standard, identification, nothing more, but the way the room reacted told him that was a lie. What does it mean? Elias asked. No one answered him directly. Security drones moved in closer, not aggressively, but carefully, as if approaching something dangerous without knowing why. Vithra finally spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. Among my people we have stories, not myths, records. She looked up at Elias for the first time since seeing the mark. There was no anger in her eyes now, only fear. They speak of humans who do not fight wars, she said. They end them. Elias shook his head. I don't understand. The overseer made a sharp motion. The duel is suspended. Both parties will step back. Elias allowed himself to be guided away, his jacket returned to him. He put it on slowly, mind racing. As he left the ring, he noticed something else. Several non-human delegates were avoiding eye contact. Others were watching him as if seeing him for the first time. Behind layers of security glass, an ancient observer activated a long silent console. Its hands trembled as it prepared a message encoded in dead protocols. The designation has reappeared, it transmitted. Confirmed visual. A pause. Human active unaware. Elias was escorted into a quiet holding chamber. The door sealed with a soft hiss. He leaned against the wall, running a hand through his hair. It's just a tattoo, he muttered, though the words no longer convinced him. Outside the chamber, the station buzzed with urgent communication. And somewhere in the galaxy, old fears stirred awake. The room Elias Ward was placed in was not a prison, but it felt close enough. The walls were smooth and pale. No bars, no restraints. Just a quiet pressure in the air that made it clear he was not free to leave. He sat on a low bench, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. The tattoo burned in his thoughts more than it ever had on his skin. Minutes passed, then more. He did not know how long he waited before the door opened again. 3 figures entered. One was human. Ambassador Helen Cross, senior representative of Earth on Helios Drift. Her face was calm, but her eyes were tight with concern. The other 2 were not human. One was the elderly delegate who had spoken during the duel. The last was something Elias did not recognize at all, tall, thin, wrapped in layers of artificial fabric with eyes that reflected light like glass. The door sealed behind them. Elias, Ambassador Cross said softly. I need you to listen carefully. He looked up. I'd really like someone to explain why half the station looks like I just walked out of a nightmare. The elderly alien moved forward slowly. Because human, for many of us, you did. Elias frowned. I don't even know what that mark is. The tall, thin being spoke next. Its voice was slow, controlled, and ancient. That is because your species chose to forget. Ambassador Cross sighed and rubbed her temples. We didn't forget, we buried it. Elias straightened. Buried what? The room fell quiet. Then the alien began to speak. Long before humans were accepted into the galactic community, before treaties and trade routes, there were wars that never made it into public records. Wars where entire species vanished so completely that even their names were removed from shared history. Not accidents, not natural disasters, deliberate erasure. When your species first left its home system, the alien said, you encountered threats that could not be reasoned with, entities that consumed worlds, civilizations that expanded by wiping out all resistance. Elias listened, his jaw tight. You were weak, the alien continued. Outnumbered, unprepared. Ambassador Cross looked at Elias. We knew we couldn't win those wars the normal way. So we made another way, Elias said quietly. She nodded. The elderly delegate continued the story. Humans created a program so secret that even most of their own leadership did not know the full details. A small number of individuals were taken, trained beyond normal limits, conditioned not just to fight but to finish conflicts permanently. They were not soldiers meant to hold ground. They were meant to remove threats so completely that wars could not continue. We call them executioners, the alien said, not because of cruelty, but because their presence meant judgment had already been passed. Elias felt cold. That's not me, he said. I was logistics, security, I never. You survived, the alien interrupted. Every confirmed encounter involving that mark ended the same way. The threat vanished, the human lived. Memories stirred at the edges of Elias' mind, broken flashes. Evacuations that felt too quiet, missions with objectives that were never explained, long medical evaluations followed by silence. "You erased us," Elias said slowly. Ambassador Cross met his eyes. "We gave you new lives, new memories. We dismantled the program." "Because you were afraid of us," Elias said. "Yes," she admitted, "and because we believed the galaxy was safe enough that it would never be needed again." The thin alien shifted. "That belief is no longer shared." Elias stood. "So what now? You lock me away." "Because I might be dangerous." The elderly delegate bowed its head. "Some have already requested that." Ambassador Cross's voice hardened. "And Earth has refused." She stepped forward. "Elias Ward is a civilian. He broke no law. He accepted a legal duel and did not strike a blow." The alien studied her. "Yet fear spreads." "Fear is not his responsibility," she said. Silence followed. Finally, the alien spoke again. "There is another reason we came." Elias crossed his arms. "I was wondering." "A signal has been detected beyond the outer trade lanes," the alien said. "An old pattern, one that matches the earliest extinction events." Elias felt something settle inside him. Not excitement, not dread, recognition. "You think they're back," he said. "We believe something like them never left," the alien replied. Ambassador Cross turned to Elias. "We are not asking you to fight." He gave a small, humorless smile. "You're hoping I remember how." She did not deny it. Elias looked down at his hands. They were steady. "I don't want to be a weapon," he said. The elderly delegate spoke gently. "Then perhaps you were never meant to be one, only a shield used when nothing else remains." The door opened again later. Vithra stood outside. Her armor was fully restored, but her posture was different now. Slower, careful, Elias stepped into the hall. They stood facing each other in silence. Finally, Vithra lowered herself to one knee. Gasps echoed from distant observers. "I do not kneel in shame," she said. "I kneel in respect." Elias stiffened. "You don't have to do that." "Yes," she replied. "I do. My people survived because others did not, and the stories always end the same way." She looked up at him. "The marked human walks away." Elias swallowed. "I don't want to be that story." Vithra rose. "Then teach us a new one." News spread quickly after that. Humans did not threaten the galaxy. They did not boast. They did not reveal secrets. They simply made one thing clear. Elias Ward would not be detained. And if ancient threats returned, humanity would stand with the galaxy, not as executioners, but as partners who already knew the cost of survival. As Elias left the station, he paused near a viewport, watching the stars stretch endlessly beyond the glass. The tattoo rested quietly beneath his jacket. For the first time, it did not feel like a mark of fear. It felt like a reminder. Humans had faced monsters once, and if they had to do it again, they would choose who they were this time. The transport ship carrying Elias Ward left Helios Drift in quiet silence. No escort, no guards, just a small human crew and a flight path cleared faster than normal. That alone told Elias how serious things had become. He sat near the viewport, watching the station shrink into the distance. The stars beyond felt heavier than before, as if they were watching him back. Across from him sat Ambassador Helen Cross. She had not spoken much since departure. "They're afraid," Elias said at last. She nodded. "Yes. Of me? Of what you represent," she replied, "and of what might be coming." Elias exhaled slowly. "You still haven't told me everything." She met his eyes, "because some of it isn't written down anymore." The ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, the stars stretching into thin lines. Elias felt the familiar pressure in his chest, followed by the calm that always came after. Memories pressed closer now, not clear ones, feelings, situations without faces. The sense of standing alone in places where nothing else lived. "When did you know?" Elias asked. "When we saw the signal," Helen said. "The same pattern that ended 3 early conflicts, same energy signature, same silence afterward." "What is it?" Elias asked. "A collective intelligence," she said. "Not a species, a process. It moves into systems, studies life, and removes anything it considers unpredictable." Elias frowned. "Like us?" "Yes." The ship's lights dimmed slightly as systems adjusted. "They don't hate," Helen continued. "They don't negotiate, they decide. And last time," Elias said quietly, "we stopped them." "You slowed them," she corrected, "at a terrible cost." The ship arrived at its destination hours later. A human research station sat alone near a dead star, no planets, no traffic. It had been decommissioned years ago, but recently reactivated. As Elias stepped onto the station, something inside him clicked. He knew this place, not consciously, but his body remembered. The corridors were wider than standard, reinforced, designed to survive extreme events. Symbols were etched into the walls, not warnings, but reminders. Helen noticed his reaction. "You've been here before." "Yes," he said. "I just don't remember why." They entered a central chamber where several scientists waited. Some were human. Others were alien observers, invited quietly, carefully. A large projection activated in the center of the room. Star maps appeared. Red markers blinked at the edge of known space. "The process is moving again," one scientist said. "Slowly, testing responses." "And if we ignore it?" Elias asked. "Then it grows confident," the scientist replied. "That's when systems go dark." Elias studied the map. His fingers twitched slightly. "I don't remember how to stop it," he said. Helen stepped closer. "You don't have to remember everything." He looked at her. "That's not comforting." She smiled faintly. "I know." The elderly alien delegate from Helios Drift appeared on the projection. "Human Elias Ward," it said. "Your presence alone has altered probability models." Elias raised an eyebrow. "By sitting here?" "Yes," the alien replied. "The process observes, it remembers outcomes. You are a variable it failed to erase." That night, Elias lay awake in a small quarters room. The hum of the station filled the silence. He closed his eyes, and this time he did not push the memories away. They came slowly, a planet covered in artificial light suddenly going dark, a sky filled with unfamiliar shapes, a voice in his ear telling him to move, to act, to finish. Not rage, focus, always focus. He woke suddenly, breath sharp, heart racing. But instead of fear, there was clarity. In the days that followed, Elias trained, not with weapons, with simulations. He studied old data, patterns, responses. He spoke with alien analysts who had lost entire histories to the process. He listened. And slowly he understood something important. The process did not fear humans because they were violent. It feared them because they adapted. "They expect resistance," Elias said during one briefing. "They don't expect choice." Helen tilted her head. "Explain." "They erase what they can't predict," he continued. "Last time we fought them directly, we proved we could hurt them. And now," she asked, "now we make them hesitate." The plan was risky. Instead of meeting the process with force, a joint fleet would approach its outer edge and do something unexpected. They would stop. No weapons charged, no defenses raised, just communication, not negotiation, demonstration. Elias would be aboard the lead vessel. When the fleet assembled, it was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Humans, krill, ancient species long silent, all moving together. Vithra stood beside Elias on the command deck. "You are calm," she observed. "I'm choosing to be," he replied. The fleet crossed into the marked region. Space felt wrong there, too quiet, too empty. Then the process responded. Systems flickered, communications distorted, a presence pressed against every sensor. Elias stepped forward. "Open channel," he said. The signal sent was simple. "Human clear, we see you." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then data flooded in, analysis, probing, testing. The process was trying to decide. Elias spoke again. "You removed us once," he said. "We survived." The pressure increased. "We changed," he continued. "So did you." A pause, the fleet held position. Every instinct screamed to act. No one moved. Finally, the pressure eased. The signal changed. Uncertainty entered it. The process withdrew slightly, not gone, but no longer advancing. Across the fleet, systems stabilized. A single truth became clear. The process had learned something new. Humans were no longer a known outcome. As the fleet turned back, Vithra looked at Elias with something like awe. "You did not destroy it," she said. "No," Elias replied. "I reminded it we exist." Weeks later, Elias returned to Earth. Not as a weapon, not as a secret, but as a man who had faced what he was and chosen something else. The tattoo remained, but now it told a different story, not of execution, but of survival. And of a species that faced the dark and decided who they would be. Earth looked peaceful from orbit. Blue oceans, white clouds, soft light from the sun. To most people it was just home. To Elias Ward it was something fragile. The ship slowed as it approached the planet. Elias stood near the viewport, hands behind his back. He had returned before, but this time felt different. Before, he came back as a man trying to forget. Now he returned as someone who remembered enough to understand the danger. Ambassador Helen Cross stood beside him. "The council meeting starts in 2 hours," she said. "They want answers." Elias nodded. "They always do." They want certainty, she added. They want to know the process won't come back. Elias looked at Earth below. That's the one thing I can't promise. The landing was smooth, too smooth. Security was tight but quiet, no panic, no public announcements. Humanity had learned long ago that fear spread faster than truth. Inside the council chamber, representatives from Earth's major regions sat in a wide circle. Large screens showed alien delegates joining remotely. Vithra was among them, standing tall, her armor replaced by a simple uniform. Elias walked to the center. Some faces showed respect. Others showed worry. One council member spoke first. "You told us the threat withdrew." "It did," Elias replied. "That doesn't mean it's gone." Another voice followed. "Then why didn't you finish it?" The question hung heavy in the air. Elias answered honestly. "Because destroying it would have proven its point." Murmurs spread. Helen stepped forward. "The process removes what it cannot predict. If we respond the same way every time, we become predictable." A council member leaned forward. "So your solution is to hope?" "No," Elias said. "My solution is to change." He explained what the data already suggested. The process did not retreat because of strength alone. It retreated because something unexpected happened. Cooperation, restraint, choice. "We showed it that we are not a fixed outcome," Elias said. "That matters." Vithra's voice came through the speakers. "Among my people, strength is proven by victory, but I have learned something new. Strength can also be proven by stopping before destruction." Silence followed. The council agreed to continue cooperation with the galaxy. No hidden weapons, no secret programs. No new executioners. After the meeting, Elias walked alone through a quiet garden near the council complex. Trees moved gently in the wind. Children's voices echoed faintly in the distance. For the first time in a long while, he felt tired. That night, the dreams returned. Not nightmares, memories, but this time they did not overwhelm him. He saw himself younger, standing in a room much like the one he was in now. Older faces watched him, some afraid, some hopeful. A voice echoed in his memory. "You are not here to destroy," it said. "You are here to end what cannot be allowed to continue." He woke slowly, breathing steady. The next days were filled with planning. Joint task groups formed. Information shared freely. Old human restrictions were lifted, not to prepare for war, but to understand history honestly. Elias worked with analysts, philosophers, and diplomats. "What if the process adapts again?" one asked. "Then so do we," Elias replied. Vithra arrived on Earth soon after. Her presence caused some fear among civilians, but she moved openly, calmly. She spoke with human soldiers, leaders, and students. One day, she stood with Elias on a cliff overlooking the ocean. "Your world is loud," she said. Elias smiled faintly. "We like it that way." She watched the waves. "My people believed silence meant peace. Now I know silence can mean absence." Weeks passed. Then the signal changed. It was subtle at first. Slight disturbances at the edge of known space. No attacks, no erasures, observation. The process was watching again. Elias stood in a control room on Earth as data streamed across the screens. "It's learning," a scientist said, "but it's cautious." Elias nodded. "So are we." Instead of fleets, messages were sent. Not demands, not warnings, records, human history. Galactic history, proof of survival, failure, change. The process responded slowly. It did not understand stories, but it understood patterns, and the pattern it saw was no longer simple. It saw humans who fought, then stopped fighting. It saw species that once stood alone, now standing together. It saw unpredictability. For the first time, the process hesitated not out of threat, but confusion. Months later, the disturbances faded, not gone, but distant. The galaxy breathed easier. Elias did not celebrate. He knew better. One evening, he removed his jacket and looked at the tattoo in the mirror. The mark was still there. But it no longer felt like a warning. It felt like a question. What would humanity choose next? He covered it again and stepped outside. The stars above Earth were bright, and for now they were watching back.